Hello and welcome to lesson 82 of the Learning Guitar series. This lesson is going to be quite packed, and let's dive straight into it. We're going to discuss melodic minor and slash chords, and let's look at the harmony and theory behind it first, and then we'll look at some practical applications. So what I have here is a melodic minor scale, it's C melodic minor, and the intervals are 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, and major 7. And here is just a vertical structure, so basically the same intervals spelled as an arpeggio. From this we can derive all the triads contained into a melodic minor scale. And if we look at C, E flat, G, we should see straight away that this is like a C minor triad. And if we look at E flat, G, and B, we see how this is an E flat augmented triad, because this is 1, 3, sharp 5. And if we look at G, B, D, this should be kind of obvious, is a G major triad, and it gives us 5, major 7, and 9. Then we can look at B, D, and F, and this is a diminished triad, because from the perspective of B, D is a flat 3, and F is a flat 5. So this is a B diminished. And then we have D, F, and A, and this is a D minor triad. And of course this is 9, 11, and 13, literally the upper structure of a melodic minor arpeggio. Then we have F, A, and C, and this is an F major triad. Last but not least, we have A, C, and E flat, and again this is an A diminished triad. So in terms of slash chords, obviously besides C minor, we could think of it as E flat augmented over C, G over C, B diminished over C, D minor over C, F over C, and A diminished over C. And this will give us a bunch of triadic chords within the melodic minor scale. And if you look at the PDF associated with this lesson, you see how we have basically 1, flat 3, 5, major 7, 9, 11, and 13. And in the key of C, basically you have these triads, which is what we just saw. In the case of these charts, which is available to the advanced Patron supporters, you can see basically the same concept in 12 keys. Now, you might want to ask yourself, how does this sound? And basically using a C note as a pedal, and let's try, for example, C minor. Obviously, it's going to be just 1, 3, and 5. Then we say E flat augmented. Then we say the G triad. And now you can hear that somehow the minor sound is kind of getting lost a bit, because obviously the flat 3 is not in here anymore. Although if we use the scale, like we will do in a second, you see that it makes perfect sense. Then we say we also have F. And of course we also have D minor. We have B diminished. We have A diminished. So as you can see, they're all perfectly usable sounds, but the difference this time compared to when we studied chord, say when we did the major modes or the melodic minor modes, is that now we're suddenly thinking modally. What that means is I'm thinking these chords because I'm playing a particular scale. In this case, we're playing a C melodic minor. In fact, let's loop C melodic minor just as a scale. Think of it as your solo, and you're developing your lead playing over C melodic minor. Let's loop the bass too. Now I'm going to start using those triadic chords underneath, and you'll see that no matter which one I play, they're all going to sound fine. They're going to sound different depending on if you're playing 3, 5, and 7, or 5, 7, and 9, 9, 11, and 13, etc. Let's start from a normal C minor, triad. And of course, we started triad. I could do down here, depending which register you want to use. This. Let's try D minor. C minor. D minor. G. That's an interesting sound. Now, as you can see, even if the triad doesn't really contain the third minor, because the scale we're using, because we're soloing using C melodic minor, it sounds minor. Though there's no flat 3 in this chord. F. Back to G. D minor. C minor. Let's try B diminished and A diminished. This is E augmented. D minor, C minor, B diminished, C minor. F. I hope it makes sense. So this idea of using slash chords to basically harmonize, you are creating chords just using triads over a bass note. So in this case, all these triads are over C. As we've seen for the major modes, this can be applied to every individual melodic minor modes. And we studied melodic minor modes. So if you look at the chart, I uploaded 2 different charts, one for Patron supporters and one for the advanced Patron supporters, but the difference is only that this is in 12 keys and the other one, you'll have to kind of transpose it, but they kind of say the same thing. Here you have just applied to melodic minor, and here, for example, is applied to Dorian flat 2, which is the second mode of melodic minor, but the concept is the same. Here is applied to Lydian sharp 5, here is applied to Lydian flat 7, Mixolydian flat 6, Locan natural 2, and then super Locan. Let's make another example so you see where this is going. So let's take, for example, Lydian flat 7. And Lydian flat 7, in terms of arpeggio, vertical structure, is root note, 3rd, 5th, flat 7, 9, sharp 11, and 13. In terms of the triads over root note, we have obviously a normal major triad. Then you have a 3rd diminished over a root note. Then you have a 5th minor over the root note. Then you have a flat 7 augmented over a root note. Then you have a 2, so like a 9, major chord, major triad, over a root note. Then you have a sharp 11 diminished over a root note, and then a 6th minor over a root note. This is kind of the universal, doesn't matter what key you're in. Of course, here it then is spelled in different keys, in all 12 keys. Again, let's stick with C, but this time we're going to work in Lydian flat 7, okay? So let's loop the scale first so we can see how we sound. So we're looking at Lydian flat 7. And after this, I will be recording just the bass notes so that we have a reference, the C note, the R in the chart, and R stands for root. And now let's start using the triads we can use. In this case, for Lydian flat 7, I can use C major triad, an E diminished triad, I can use a G minor triad, a B flat augmented, a D triad, a G flat diminished, and an A minor triad. Now, you don't have to memorize all this stuff. That's the reason why these charts, will help you. They're a bit like a dictionary, okay? But let's see what they sound like. That's a C major triad, E diminished, G minor, B augmented. This is particularly nice. G minor, C major. And then we have D major. E diminished, D major, C major. Let's do it in this register maybe. But then we have a G flat diminished. G minor, A minor. B flat, C, D, E diminished. So as you can see, this way we can literally expand our chordal vocabulary quite a lot. And all we had to do is obviously to know triads, and we studied that, and understanding harmony and theory, how we got to this idea, okay, these are the triads I can use with each individual mode. And then, try them out and see what you like, The fundamental part is that in this case, we are playing modally. We're starting from the idea all these chords are constructed from this particular scale. The harmony theory we looked at was for C melodic minor, and we tried the sound of that, and now we were looking at Lydian flat 7. In the previous lesson, the equivalent was applied to the major modes. Now, let's look at, from a practical point of view, how can we make this musical? And in that sense, you also have an extra PDF that comes with this lesson, which is associated with a couple of backing tracks. The idea behind is now to create chord progressions based on modal playing, so based on scales that we want to use. Make sure that you read this particular chapter, and then I'll explain you what these are. But the idea overall is, okay, I can take some scales that I want to practice or that I want to write with. And once I decide a progression based on those scales, then I can look at the slash chords in terms of how I'm going to harmonize. So I'm going to create chords for that progression. So in the case of the backing track, this has been kind of a random process. I decided to use Ionian as a scale, and I decided to use A Ionian. Then I went into a D minor, as in Dorian. I wanted to do something Dorian. So the progression now is A Ionian going into D Dorian. The third scale was F sharp Lydian. And the fourth scale was E superloquian. So the first three chords are based on major modes, and the last one was based on melodic minor. As you can see, I'm mentioning scales. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to play 4 bars of Ionian, A Ionian in this case. Could be any. Use your ears. Going into a D Dorian for 4 bars, going into F sharp Lydian for 4 bars, going into E superloquian for 4 bars. Now, in terms of deciding, okay, what chords am I going to play to support, this stuff? The answer to that is simple. So for A Ionian, all I did was to go to these charts here. These are the slash chords applied to the major modes. 12 keys recap. And for Ionian, I went to A, here it is, and okay, it's telling me I can use this triads over a bass of A. And if I remember well, for the backing track, personally, I went either with F sharp minor triad or an E triad. I didn't want to use everything, not to confuse you. So I used these two. And then for D Dorian, all I did was, okay, let's look at the Dorian chart. Let's go to D here. And so these are the triads I could use for D. And again, I opted, I think, for E minor and F because they were the closest one to what I previously played in A. Then it was F sharp Lydian. So under Lydian, I went to under F sharp, and these are the triads I can use, you know, in terms of chord. And in this case, I went for F minor and actually F sharp itself. Last but not least, for E melodic minor, for E superloquian, sorry. So here is superloquian, 7th degree of melodic minors. And when here, and for E, hold on. Yes, for E, I used A flat augmented and I think F minor. Those are the two, or probably E diminished also. So based on that, you know, suddenly you have harmony. So let me give you an example. You know, I'll show you literally the backing tracks that I uploaded. There's two of them that you can use. But first, I'll literally do it here with the loop pedal. So I have A, then D, F sharp, E. So for A, I used E major, then F for D, F sharp, A flat, augmented. See how it works. E major over A, E minor over D, F minor for F sharp, E augmented. Let me loop, I'm going to loop this chord so you can see how then we can build in terms of melody. This is F sharp. And I'm playing F minor triad over F sharp. Okay, let's loop. E major triad over A. E minor over D. F minor over F sharp. A flat augmented over E. So because A is built over Ionian, this is D Dorian, F sharp Lydian, then E, this is F sharp Lydian, E melodic minor, as in F melodic minor, so which is, it was E superloquian. F sharp, E superloquian, E Ionian, D, A Ionian, D Dorian, and so forth and so on. As you can see, it works beautifully. I mean, as I said, like this is based over 4 random chords based on the idea of playing modally. So the first step in composing this is what scales do I want to play? And it doesn't matter if those scales are diatonic to each other or they're not. I just picked up A Ionian, D Dorian, F sharp Lydian, and E superloquian. In this case, I gave it enough space in between, say, 4 bars of each chord, or 2 bars of each chord, depending on how quickly you want to move from a scale to another or from a chord to another. But obviously, when I say A Ionian, obviously I mean A major, because Ionian is major. And when I say D Dorian, obviously it's D minor, because it's Dorian. And F sharp, again, is major, because it's Lydian. And E7, because it's Superloquian. Then I established the triads that I wanted to use, and that's it. Once you start soloing, it totally makes sense, okay? So, as I said, the backing tracks, there is 2 of them that you can use to practice these kind of things. That's the progression that I'm using for the backing tracks. The first backing tracks only has basically bass and some basic chords, so you have a reference of A major, D minor, etc. But it's got enough space for you to try triads. So like you're playing the rhythmic part. I'll play it to you. I'll load it and I'll play it to you. Let me start from here with E major over A. E minor over D minor, obviously, or F. F minor over F sharp. E augmented, or A flat augmented, and back. E major. And so you can use this first backing track to practice your triadic voicings and decide, okay, this is the progression, and you don't have to use the triads that I decided to use. As you can see, for each of those chords, you have 7 options. The second PDF you'll find, which is this, is basically explaining you in written what I just explained to you, how I got to these particular triads over these chords. More importantly, also contains the scales that you want to use in terms of soloing. So A Ionian, D Dorian, F sharp Lydian, E7 Superloquian, subdivided by cages. So you have here in the lowest part of the neck, and as you move up. So again, it's A Ionian, D Dorian, F sharp Phrygian, E Superloquian. 3rd gauge, 4th gauge, 5th gauge, and of course then after that it starts repeating itself. And the point of this is also like once you establish, the kind of triads, you practice your triads, so, you're able to do it in terms of chords, you might want to also enjoy practicing some lead. And for that, there is the second backing track, which contains already also more chords, more triads. And that's the point, is like you revising now how to change a scale, how to go from one to the other. I'm going to show you in a second how the second backing track works. But it's also, as I said, read the PDF because it's very self-explanatory in that sense. This kind of exercise is something that you want to try yourself in terms of creating your own chord progression to practice. So I went for A, D minor, F sharp, E. You can try anything you want really at this point. You've done the major modes, so 7 scales, and you've done melodic minor modes, 7 scales. So you can build any progression you want. The important part, and I can't stress this enough, the writing process in this sense is kind of backwards. Sometimes we tend to write first a chord progression that we enjoy, and then we write a melody for it. It can be a guitar solo, it can be literally a song. If you're a singer, you can put lyrics to it, etc. In this case, we are using a full-on modal approach. So we're actually starting from scales. We're starting from, I want to play B Ionian. And then, okay, these are the chords I can use in terms of slash chords I can use for B Ionian. And then I want to move to another scale. I don't know, E Phrygian. Okay. And now you start having like a chord progression which is, use your ears in terms of do I like it or not like it. But the important part is that first is the scale, then I'm going to figure out the slash chords, and then I'm just going to play. Let me show you the other backing track. I'll play a little bit along with that, and so you see what the kind of things you can practice. But bear in mind, as I said, there is a PDF, which if you follow it, kind of shows you how to move from one scale to another without, moving too much of your hand unless you want to. So I'll load the second backing track, and I'll play a little bit. I hope it makes sense. As you can see, there is a lot of fun that can be had from writing modally, because you're kind of writing already off the scales that you know in a way. So this can be applied pretty much to anything. It's interesting that by using slash chords now, what you really need to know is triads, and we've done plenty of studies on that. We can come up with some very interesting chord progression. Obviously sound a little bit fusiony, simply because, of course, all these chords that are picked up, they're not diatonic to each other. So, it's not going to sound very much pop. But it can be this theory can be applied to pop music as much as to any other genre, If you think of funk music, most of the time, the way you play rhythm in funk music is based on triads. So, there is no limit to this. It can be very creative. This is it for this lesson, and I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time.